here with Todd Boone, Vice President of North America from Dexory, here live at ProMat. So great to see you.
Yes, you as well.
So we're at the Dexory booth. Let's talk about Dexory. Explain to us what they do, their markets, and all about them.
Sure, absolutely. So, hi everyone. So what always gets people's attention first with Dexory is the large robot behind me. But what we really are is a warehouse visibility and intelligence company. And when you think about it, a lot of times warehouses have been black holes in terms of people really knowing how things go through it on a day-to-day basis. And what we've got here is this robot that basically patrols entire warehouses, scans the entire warehouse, tells you what you have, where it is, how much of it you have, and provides that as a picture back so that you can actually make sure that your stock integrity and your warehouse integrity is where it needs to be. So it becomes now an actual digital twin of your warehouse environment that gives you a real-time picture of how it actually is versus how you thought it might be just by looking at your WMS.
So to kind of empower businesses to navigate a lot of today's supply chain challenges, Dexory reshaped its flagship product, DexoryView. What is DexoryView and why update it?
Right, so DexoryView is actually what we call our software application. And one of the things that I mentioned just in that intro was that we basically are making sure that you know exactly how your warehouse is. Think of it as like stock integrity, right? So now I'm pretty confident that I've got everything in the right locations, in the right quantities. Well, once you start having that, and I think the big gating factor here is we're doing that on a daily basis, we're actually starting to pull in a lot of data and information that we can then analyze and provide more and more insights on. And so now going beyond integrity, the next step is how do you optimize? How do you actually run your warehouse a little bit better? Because we can see when things actually moved, how much moved, and those types of things. And why that's important is we can see, let's say, a heat map. Like, do you have areas where you could have congestion because you have a lot of product that's super high velocity that's moving on a regular basis, and when you start to look into it, say, yeah, we've got bottlenecks and jams there, that's actually slowing us down. Are things actually, are pickers traveling too far to get something to bring it up? And again, it might be a high volume type of item. And on the surface, a lot of these things, may seem, oh, well, how is that important? Well, when you think of labor, right? So a warehouse, typically about 70% of the cost of that warehouse is labor. And then when you break it down further, probably 60 to 70% of that worker's time is spent traveling. So not necessarily, when they're actually active in delivering values, when they're actually getting something. And so you want to make sure that once they get there, obviously the right thing is there, but then also, if you can reduce the amount of time that they're spent traveling or waiting, that actually has a massive impact in terms of the efficiency and the overall operations of that warehouse as well. So as we're stepping in now to this optimization realm, we're looking to help customers not just understand how their warehouse is, but actually manage it better.
And the DexoryView Optimization module, that introduced live at ProMat, is that correct?
That's correct, that's correct.
Perfect, I love that. So you talk about warehouse optimization a lot. What is Dexory doing to provide the ultimate in warehouse optimization solutions?
Yeah, so I think, our ability to basically take real-time information, a lot of, you see AI and you see optimization and all these types of things. And a lot of companies are basing that on, I would call it a data set, right? Or, an incomplete data set might be a better way to put it. When we think of making data-driven decisions, there's really three pillars that I typically think about. One of them is how recent is that data, right? Like, is it actually what's there now? Also, how holistic is the data, right? So how much of it do I have? If I'm making decisions based on a partial data set, it's not going to be as strong an outcome as it could be. And then how accurate is the data? So what we look to do is to bring together all three of those aspects, right? And then that helps us actually have the right sort of information to drive data-driven decisions. And I think beyond that, when we start thinking of like AI and all those types of advanced capabilities that we can bring in, now that data set continues to grow, we can extract more information from the operation, and eventually, we'll be able to get into things like more predictive types of models as well. I mean, we're certainly not there yet, but those are the kind of directions that we can go once you actually start gathering it.
Now, Dexory recently opened its North American headquarters in Nashville. Where you're based overseas, so tell us a little bit more about your North American headquarters.
Absolutely, so Dexory is based in the UK. But last year we decided to establish our North American headquarters in Nashville. And what we wanted to do is, the North American market has been a very high growth space for us. And as we actually announced our entry into the North American market in February of last year. And as we've been scaling up, we needed a couple of things. We needed some more headcount here, right? So people that could respond and be at customers faster, but also access to have a place to store some of the things like spare parts and some of those operational aspects that we need. And so now we're excited that we can actually start scaling in this market as well, so that we can respond to customers quicker and get to their. Now that being said, we still have a distributed team in terms of, it's not like everybody's just going to be based in Nashville, because they're scattered a little bit through the US as well. But it does give us now like a nice base of operations where we can focus a lot of those operational elements and start to just get more efficient in terms of how we deliver value to our customers.
So share with us a recent success story that incorporated some of your DexoryView, even your optimization module, which you just introduced, so probably don't have that, but any of your DexoryView solutions. Do you have a success story you can share with us?
We recently had a customer, and actually it's quite relevant because it goes back to Modex last year. And they came up to us and they said, we'd never heard of you, which of course we were brand new into the market at that point. And they said, can you come out and see us this week? So we did. We went out and saw them that week, and they had another project in play that they actually stopped. We went in, we actually deployed our solution there, so we wound up getting that contract and deploying, and they said, that's fantastic. We're going to probably wait another year. We've got multiple facilities, but we're going to take some time and evaluate, because this is pretty new technology. Within 4 months, the benefits that they were seeing from DexoryView and the insights that they were getting were so large that they decided to do a much more rapid expansion across multiple sites. And there were two basic triggers for that. There's two general buckets. One of them is labor savings. So when you think of labor savings, they typically don't need as many people going out counting and monitoring the actual inventory, stock levels of, do they have the right things in the right places, cycle counters, right? But the other one where they saw a massive impact was just reducing the number of errors that they had within the facility. And that alone wound up being a larger part of the ROI value equation than just even the FTE labor reduction. And actually, even within that, labor is always hard to come by in the supply chain, right? So a lot of times they say, well, we're supposed to have 10 cycle counters as an example, but we can only ever keep 4 or 5 on staff. It's really difficult to keep them here. It's difficult to hire them.
Yeah.
So when you can start automating that and then make our operation run better, then that was really a powerful ROI enabler for them, and that's why they decided to do the expansion. But it was all based on actually using DexoryView and the insights within it that really they said, this almost became a no-brainer that they had, in their words, that they're like, we almost have to expand this to other sites now.
Now, live from ProMat, what are some of the things that you're seeing, some common themes that you're seeing?
Well, I haven't walked the floor too much, but it's amazing when I look at ProMat how big automation has become overall, right? Because it used to be like a little room underneath the show where there were a few automation vendors that were there. And now it's interesting, and again, I don't see it as potentially labor replacement. You see a lot of people that are saying, hey, because you're having trouble with the labor shortage in the sense of getting them in the warehouse, retaining them and all these sort of things, more and more workflows that are being automated in a sense, right? And I think there's some really interesting technology that's coming out that is able to do things in a way that we just couldn't even dream of before. Like Locus Robotics came out with some really cool, some new solutions at the show. I think Berkshire Grey, Geek Plus. You just kind of walk around, and there's so many different aspects where the automation has just become such a big factor within the warehouse space.
Live from ProMat, Todd Boone, Vice President of North America at Dexory. I'm Marina Mayer, Editor-in-Chief of Food Logistics.